The massive screens in United Earth Defense Force headquarters flickered to life on what seemed like an ordinary Tuesday morning. Admiral James Walker stood with his hands clasped behind his back, watching as the impossible happened before his eyes. The first alien contact humanity had ever received was broadcasting across every screen in the command center. "This is a historic day for your species." The alien's voice was oddly smooth, almost too perfect in its translation. The being on screen looked almost human-like, but with silvery skin and eyes that seemed to hold the depth of space itself. "We are the stellar concordat, and we have watched your progress with great interest." Walker felt his jaw tighten. 25 years of military service had taught him one thing: when something seemed too good to be true, it usually was. The alien continued speaking, its promises growing more magnificent by the minute. Advanced medical technology that could cure any disease. Clean energy systems that could power entire continents. Faster than light travel capabilities that would open up the galaxy to human exploration. "All of this can be yours," the alien representative said, "if you accept our invitation to join the concordat." Around him, Walker could see the excitement building in his junior officers' faces. Even his most seasoned veterans were whispering among themselves, their eyes bright with possibility. But something in his gut told him this wasn't right. The next few weeks passed in a blur of global celebrations and diplomatic meetings. World leaders gathered in New York to welcome the concordat's ambassadors. Walker attended these meetings, watching as humanity's representatives practically fell over themselves to accept every offer the aliens made. During one such meeting, he noticed something odd. One of the alien diplomats was speaking with a group of Earth's top scientists, describing their advanced propulsion systems. The scientist asked a detailed question about the underlying principles, and for just a moment, Walker caught a flash of something in the alien's eyes: annoyance, concern. Whatever it was, it vanished so quickly he almost thought he'd imagined it. That evening, in his private office overlooking the Pacific Ocean, Walker began making notes. Every promise the concordat made was perfect, too perfect. They had solutions for every problem humanity faced, but their explanations always stopped just short of revealing how their technology actually worked. "Admiral," his computer chimed, "you have a secure message from Dr. Reed in Research and Development." He opened the message, and his eyes narrowed as he read. Dr. Reed had been analyzing the preliminary technical documents the concordat had provided. According to her findings, there were patterns in their technology that suggested hidden protocols, backdoors that could be activated remotely. Walker stood up and walked to his window, watching as the sun set over the ocean. In the distance, he could see one of the concordat's ships hovering above the city, its sleek form reflecting the orange light of sunset. It was beautiful, he had to admit, but beauty could hide danger. He pressed a button on his desk. "Get me a secure line to the Joint Chiefs," he said, "and find out if any other military leaders have noticed anything unusual about our new friends." The response came faster than he expected. Military leaders from Russia, China, India, and several other nations had also reported subtle inconsistencies in the concordat's behavior. None of it was enough to prove malicious intent, but together it painted a concerning picture. Walker made a decision that night. While the world celebrated its new alien allies, he would prepare for the worst. He began authorizing quiet research programs, parallel development projects that would study the concordat's technology while maintaining humanity's independent capabilities. "Let's hope I'm wrong," he muttered to himself as he signed the classified orders. "But if I'm right, humanity needs to be ready." As he looked up at the alien ship once more, he remembered an old quote from his military academy days. "The greatest trick isn't in making someone trust you, but in making them think they came up with the idea themselves." The concordat had offered humanity the stars, but Walker couldn't shake the feeling that those same stars might one day turn against them. And when that day came, he intended to make sure Earth would be ready. Little did he know, his instincts would prove right sooner than anyone expected. The first deception was only the beginning, and humanity's greatest test was yet to come. Dr. Emma Reed hadn't slept properly in 3 days. Her laboratory at the Global Technology Research Center was filled with holographic displays showing complex patterns of alien code. Empty coffee cups littered her desk, evidence of her endless work hours. Something about the concordat's technology kept bothering her, like a puzzle piece that didn't quite fit. "Run the analysis again," she told her computer system. The screens lit up with new data streams, comparing the alien technology specifications across different sectors. Medical systems, power plants, transportation networks, all of them contained the same strange pattern buried deep in their core programming. A soft beep announced someone at her door. "Come in," she called out, not taking her eyes off the screens. Admiral Walker stepped into the lab, his presence immediately filling the room. "Tell me you found something concrete," he said, walking over to her workstation. Emma pointed to one of the displays. "Look at this pattern. It shows up in every piece of concordat technology we've received. At first, I thought it was just their signature way of coding, but then I noticed something strange." She pulled up another screen. "These are records of other species the concordat has helped over the past century." Walker leaned in closer. "What am I looking at?" "Patterns of disappearance," Emma said grimly. "The Vega colony vanished 50 years ago, right after receiving major technological upgrades from the concordat. The Centauri Collective, gone after 30 years of partnership. And there are others." She stood up and paced the room, her mind racing. But here's what's really interesting. Before each disappearance, there was a massive surge of energy across all concordat systems in those regions, like someone flipped a switch. Walker's face darkened. "A kill switch." "More like a control switch," Emma corrected. "I believe their technology isn't just meant to help us. It's designed to make us completely dependent on their systems. And once we're fully integrated," she left the sentence hanging. Just then, her computer beeped again. New data scrolled across the screen, making her eyes widen. "This can't be right," she muttered, typing frantically. "What is it?" Walker moved to look over her shoulder. "I've been running tests on some of their medical technology. The concordat claimed it could cure any disease, remember? But look at this." She pointed to a complex diagram. "Their systems don't just cure diseases, they modify human biology at a fundamental level. Small changes, barely noticeable. But over time." "Over time? What?" "Over time, it would make us physically dependent on their technology to survive." Emma's voice was barely a whisper, like an addiction, but at a cellular level. Walker's fist clenched. "How many people have used their medical facilities so far?" "Thousands, and the numbers are growing every day." Emma pulled up global statistics. "People are flocking to their clinics. Why wouldn't they? The treatments are miraculous. At least, they seem that way." A warning light flashed on her screen. "Someone's trying to access my research files," she said, quickly typing commands. "This is the 3rd attempt this week. Can they get in?" Emma allowed herself a small smile. "No, I kept everything on isolated systems, just like you suggested. Old-fashioned computers, not connected to any networks. The concordat's technology is amazing, but they seem to have trouble with our primitive systems." Walker nodded approvingly. "Good. Keep working. But be careful. No direct confrontations if they ask questions. We need to keep this quiet until we have absolute proof." As he turned to leave, Emma called out, "Admiral, there's something else." She hesitated. "In all these cases of disappeared civilizations, I found records of a few individuals who tried to warn others. They all reported the same thing, that something felt wrong about the concordat's perfect solutions, just like you did." "And what happened to those individuals?" "They vanished first," Emma said quietly, "before anyone else." Walker stood in the doorway for a moment. "Then we'll make sure history doesn't repeat itself. Keep digging, Dr. Reed, but watch your back." After he left, Emma turned back to her screens, her mind racing with new theories and fears. The concordat's technology was everywhere now, spreading through Earth's infrastructure like roots of an invasive plant. But maybe, just maybe, they had discovered the truth in time to stop it. She picked up another coffee cup. It was going to be another long night. The attack began at midnight. In the United Earth Defense Force Command Center, every alarm suddenly started blaring. Red warning lights flashed across the walls as officers rushed to their stations. Admiral Walker burst through the doors, his uniform wrinkled from sleep. "Report," he shouted. "Sir, all concordat systems are activating simultaneously," an officer responded, his fingers flying across the control panel. "They're trying to access our defense networks." Walker allowed himself a grim smile. For 6 months, they had prepared for this moment. "Activate Protocol Shield," he ordered. Protocol Shield activated. "Sir." Around the world, something unexpected happened. As the concordat systems attempted to seize control of Earth's defenses, they found themselves blocked by old, outdated human technology that had been quietly maintained and upgraded. In her laboratory, Dr. Reed watched the attack unfold on her monitors. The concordat's code was beautiful in its complexity. Waves of digital commands that should have paralyzed Earth's military in seconds, but they crashed harmlessly against the backup systems she and her team had designed. Her phone rang. "Dr. Reed." Walker's voice came through. "Are you seeing this?" "Yes," she replied, watching the data streams. "They're trying to use the pattern I discovered, the hidden protocols in their technology." But she allowed herself a small laugh. They can't understand why it's not working. High above Earth, in the main concordat ship, the alien leaders were facing their first failure in centuries. Their perfect plan, tested on dozens of civilizations, was falling apart. "Impossible," the concordat commander hissed, its silvery skin dulling with anger. "They are primitives. They should be helpless by now." On the screens before him, Earth's military bases remained operational. The humans had done something unprecedented. They had accepted the concordat's advanced technology, while secretly maintaining their own systems. Instead of becoming dependent, they had learned and adapted. Back in the command center, Walker opened a channel to all Earth's military forces. "This is Admiral Walker. The concordat has shown their true colors. Initiate Operation Firewall." Across the planet, hidden weapon systems emerged from underground bunkers. Fighter jets, built with a mixture of human ingenuity and reverse-engineered alien technology, took to the skies. The concordat had expected to face a helpless planet. Instead, they faced a prepared one. "Sir," an officer called out, "we're detecting energy buildups in all concordat ships. They're preparing to attack." "Let them come," Walker said calmly. "Send word to all commands. Execute Battle Plan Delta." The first concordat ship fired at Earth's surface, expecting to easily destroy the primitive human defenses. Instead, their energy beams scattered harmlessly against a shield, one made from their own technology, modified by human engineers who had never fully trusted their allies. Dr. Reed's voice came through the command center speakers. "Admiral, I'm detecting a pattern in their attack formations. They're using standard concordat battle tactics, the same ones they've used for the last 1,000 years. They don't know how to adapt." That was humanity's advantage. While the concordat relied on perfected but unchanging strategies, humans had spent their entire history learning to improvise and adapt. "All units," Walker commanded, "break from standard formations. Use the modified tactics we practiced. Show them what humanity can do." The space above Earth erupted into chaos. Human ships, smaller but more maneuverable, darted between the massive concordat vessels. They used unexpected attack patterns, switching between alien and human technology in ways the concordat had never seen. In his command chair, the concordat commander watched in growing horror as his perfect fleet was thrown into disarray. "How?" he demanded. "How are they doing this?" The answer was simple, though he couldn't understand it. Humans had done what no other species had thought to do. They had taken the concordat's gift and made it truly their own, while never forgetting their own strength. As the battle raged on, Walker looked at the main screen showing Earth's forces pushing back against the supposedly invincible concordat fleet. "Send a message to all Earth forces," he said. "Tell them, the stars may have betrayed us, but humanity stands unshaken." The breaking point had come, but not in the way the concordat had planned. Instead of breaking Earth, they had only proven one universal truth: never underestimate humanity's ability to survive and fight back. The first week of war changed everything. Earth's cities glowed with shield barriers, their skies filled with the constant dance of combat. Admiral Walker hadn't left the command center for days, surviving on coffee and determination as he coordinated humanity's defense. "Status report," he called out, studying the global holographic display before him. "Sir, we've successfully defended major population centers," his tactical officer reported. "The concordat's attacks are becoming more desperate. They've lost 12 capital ships trying to break through our shields." Walker nodded, but he knew better than to celebrate too early. The concordat might be surprised, but they weren't defeated. They still had vast fleets spread across the galaxy, and Earth was just one planet. Dr. Reed rushed into the command center, holding a tablet. "Admiral, you need to see this," she said, her eyes bright with excitement. "We've analyzed the debris from their destroyed ships, the concordat's technology. It's all standardized. Every ship, every weapon, they're all exactly the same." "Why is that important?" Walker asked, though he was beginning to understand. "Because they don't innovate," she explained. "They reached what they saw as perfection, and they stopped developing. But humans, we never stop changing, never stop improving." She pulled up detailed scans on the main screen. "Look at our hybrid ships. Each one is slightly different, modified by their crews, adapted to new situations. The concordat doesn't know how to handle that." A massive explosion lit up the holographic display. Another concordat ship had been destroyed, this time by a small group of Earth fighters using constantly changing attack patterns. "Sir," the communications officer interrupted, "we're receiving transmission requests from inside other concordat ships." This was unexpected. Walker straightened up. "Put them through." The screens flickered to life, showing various alien faces, not the silver-skinned concordat leaders, but members of other species. Their eyes held a mixture of fear and hope. "People of Earth," one of them spoke, their voice trembling. "We are the subjugated races. For centuries, the concordat has kept us as servants, using their technology to control us. But you've shown us it's possible to fight back." Walker shared a look with Dr. Reed. "This changed everything." "How many of you are there?" he asked. "Thousands of ships," another alien responded. "Millions of us. We maintain their fleets, run their systems, and we've watched how you fight, how you've remained independent. We want to help." The command center burst into excited whispers. Walker raised his hand for silence. "Can you give us their fleet positions, their weaknesses?" "Better," the first alien said. "We can disable their ships from within. We've learned their systems as well as they have. We just never had hope of victory before." Over the next few hours, reports flooded in from across the galaxy. On hundreds of concordat ships, the enslaved species were rising up. Ships were going dark, weapon systems failing, as centuries of careful control crumbled. "Admiral," Dr. Reed said quietly, "we didn't just find a way to fight them. We gave the galaxy hope." Walker watched as more green lights appeared on his display, showing ships and entire fleets turning against the concordat. Humanity had done more than just survive. They had sparked a revolution. "Send word to all Earth forces," he ordered. "Full offensive operations. The concordat wanted to show us our place in the galaxy." He smiled grimly. "Let's show them theirs instead." Earth's ships launched from their protective barriers, no longer just defending but attacking. They led the charge, showing other species how to fight, how to adapt, how to be free. A junior officer looked up from his station, awe in his voice. "Sir, they're calling us the breakers of chains across all frequencies." Walker shook his head. "No, we're just humans. We did what we always do: survive, adapt, and fight back when pushed too far." As Earth's forces pushed outward, joining with their new allies, the message spread across the stars. Humanity stood alone no longer, and the galaxy would never be the same. The concordat had tried to enslave humanity, but instead they had unleashed something they never expected: hope. And hope, combined with human determination, was about to change everything. Dr. Reed stood in her laboratory, surrounded by alien visitors from a dozen different species. Each had come to understand how humanity had resisted the concordat's control. The room buzzed with different languages, all translated through modified communication devices. "It makes no sense," said a tall, blue-skinned engineer from the Centauri sector. "Your technology was primitive compared to ours. You should have fallen like everyone else." Emma smiled, walking to her main display. "That's exactly why we survived. Look at this." She pulled up images of human history. Every time humanity faced a challenge, we adapted. When we couldn't fly, we built planes. When diseases threatened us, we created medicines. We never stopped trying new things. She switched to displays showing concordat technology. "But look at your systems. Perfect, yes. Unchanging, also yes. That was your weakness." "But the concordat systems were flawless," another alien argued. "Why change perfection?" "Because nothing is truly perfect," Admiral Walker said, entering the laboratory. "And thinking you've reached perfection means you stop growing." He walked to a workstation where human engineers were modifying alien equipment. "See this. We took your technology and changed it. Added our own ideas, made mistakes and learned from them. The concordat never expected that because they forgot how to innovate." Dr. Reed nodded, pulling up more data. "Look at human brain scans during problem solving," she explained. "We light up differently from other species. Where you see a perfect solution and stop looking, we keep asking, what if? Even when something works, we try to make it better." The aliens gathered around her screens, fascination evident in their various expressions. One of them, a small creature with crystalline skin, spoke up. "Is that why your ships are all different? We noticed no two human vessels fight the same way." "Exactly," Walker replied. "We gave our crews basic guidelines, then let them innovate. Some combined concordat weapons with human targeting systems. Others modified shield frequencies. Each ship became unique." Emma moved to another display, showing battle footage. The concordat's perfect formations failed because they couldn't adapt to our random patterns. They had one way of fighting, the perfect way. We had thousands of imperfect ways, constantly changing. "And that's why they feared you," a voice said from the doorway. Everyone turned to see an ancient alien elder, supported by a walking staff. "I remember when my species first met the concordat. We were like you, curious, always changing. They saw that as dangerous." The elder moved closer, examining the human modifications to concordat technology. "They offered us perfection, and we took it. We stopped trying to improve, stopped questioning. That's how they controlled us. Not just with technology, but by making us forget how to think differently." Walker crossed his arms. "Well, humanity never forgot. In fact, we've got teams around the world working on new modifications right now. Dr. Reed, show them Project Phoenix." Emma's eyes lit up as she activated a hidden display. "This is our latest development. We found a way to combine human creativity with concordat precision. It's not perfect, but that's exactly why it works," the elder finished, understanding dawning in his ancient eyes. The laboratory filled with excited chatter as the aliens began sharing their own forgotten ideas, their own ways of thinking that the concordat had suppressed. Dr. Reed watched with satisfaction as centuries of enforced conformity began to crack. "You know what this means," Walker said quietly to her. "The concordat didn't just fail to conquer Earth. They accidentally showed the galaxy how to be free again." Emma nodded, watching as humans and aliens worked together, sharing ideas, making mistakes, and learning from them. "Our greatest strength was never our technology or our weapons," she said. "It was our stubborn refusal to stop asking questions." Outside the laboratory windows, Earth's cities glowed with modified shield barriers, each one slightly different, each one imperfect, and each one stronger for it. Humanity's hidden strength had become a beacon for the galaxy, not because they were perfect, but because they had never tried to be. The question, "What if?" echoed across the stars, and the answer was changing everything. Thomas Grant stood before the gathered representatives of 20 different alien species in the newly established Freedom Alliance headquarters. Once a simple diplomat, he now found himself leading the greatest rebellion the galaxy had ever seen. "The concordat's control is breaking," he announced, pointing to the massive star map behind him. Red dots showing concordat strongholds were turning green one by one. Every day, more ships and colonies break free. "But we need to move faster." A holographic message interrupted the meeting. Admiral Walker's image appeared above the central table. "We have news from the Orient sector," he said. 3 more concordat control centers have fallen. Their perfect system is cracking." Thomas nodded, turning back to the aliens. "This is why we're here today. Each of you represents a species that broke free. Now we need your help to free others." He walked around the table, making eye contact with each representative. "Humanity learned something important. Sharing knowledge freely makes everyone stronger. The concordat kept us apart, made us depend only on them. We're going to do the opposite." A tall, reptilian alien stood up. "My people have already modified our ships with human innovations. We freed 2 star systems this week alone." "Excellent," Thomas said. "And that's just the beginning." Dr. Reed. Emma's image appeared next to Walker's. "We've created information packets containing everything we've learned," she explained. "Basic human engineering principles, our modification techniques, even our military tactics. But most importantly, our way of thinking." The room buzzed with excitement. Thomas raised his hand for silence. "But remember, these aren't instruction manuals to be followed exactly. They're starting points. Add your own ideas, improve them, make them your own." An ethereal, floating creature spoke next. "The concordat's strength was making everyone the same. Your strength is letting everyone be different." "Exactly," Thomas smiled. "Unity doesn't mean uniformity. Look at Earth's defense fleet. No 2 ships are identical. Each crew modified their vessels differently. That's why we're winning." The star map updated again. More green dots appeared, showing newly liberated systems. But Thomas noticed something else. New patterns of trade and communication forming between free worlds. Species that had been isolated for centuries were connecting, sharing ideas. "Sir," his aide whispered urgently, "we're receiving transmissions from inside concordat space. More systems want to join us." Thomas shared a look with Walker's hologram. This was spreading faster than anyone had expected. The concordat's perfect control was becoming their perfect weakness. They had no way to handle widespread, chaotic rebellion. "Tell them what we tell everyone," Thomas said. "We'll share what we know, but how they fight for freedom is up to them. No more perfect solutions imposed from above." The meeting continued as representatives shared their own victories and innovations. Some had modified human weapons with their ancient technologies. Others had found new ways to break concordat control systems. Each success was different, unpredictable, impossible for the concordat to counter. "There's something else," Walker's hologram announced. "Our deep space sensors show the concordat is pulling back to their core systems. For the first time in their history, they're afraid." "They should be," the reptilian alien growled. "They've never faced an enemy they couldn't predict before." Thomas walked to the star map, studying the shifting patterns of alliance and freedom spreading across the galaxy. "We're not just fighting their ships," he said quietly. "We're fighting their entire way of thinking. Every free choice, every new idea, every innovation weakens their power." Dr. Reed's hologram nodded. "Their perfect system can't handle imperfection. And the galaxy is about to become very, very imperfect." As the meeting ended, Thomas watched the representatives leave, each carrying humanity's gift, not of perfect technology, but of the freedom to be imperfect, to try new things, to fail and learn and grow. The revolution was spreading, not as one perfect wave, but as thousands of individual choices and changes. The concordat had built an empire on making everyone the same. Humanity was bringing it down by showing everyone how to be different. And there was nothing the concordat could do to stop it. The final battle wasn't fought with weapons at all. The concordat's last stronghold, their gleaming capital world, faced not a fleet of warships but a simple transmission. Admiral Walker, Dr. Reed, and Thomas Grant stood together in Earth's Central Command as they broadcast their message across every frequency. "To all beings under concordat control," Thomas began, his voice carrying to millions of worlds, "we offer you a choice." The massive screens showed the concordat's perfect cities, their flawless structures, and their increasingly empty streets. Their control was slipping away not with a bang, but with countless small decisions. "You don't have to be perfect," Dr. Reed continued. "You don't have to follow their unchanging path. Look at what the free worlds have achieved in just 1 year." The broadcast showed images from across the galaxy. Ships of mixed designs, cities that blended different architectural styles, and most importantly, people of all species working together, creating new things, making mistakes, and learning from them. Admiral Walker stepped forward. "We're not here to conquer you. We're here to show you another way." In the concordat capital, the silver-skinned leaders watched in horror as their perfect system crumbled. Their own servants were walking away, their soldiers were laying down weapons, and their citizens were beginning to ask questions. The most dangerous thing of all. "This is impossible," the concordat High Commander declared. "Our system is perfect. They cannot reject perfection." But they could, and they did. The revolution's final victory came not through destruction, but through choice. Across the galaxy, beings of all species chose messy freedom over perfect control. Back on Earth, Thomas watched the reports flooding in. "The concordat leadership is surrendering," he announced. "They're requesting to open diplomatic channels." Walker nodded grimly. "On our terms this time." Dr. Reed's computer chimed with incoming data. "Look at this," she said excitedly. "The freed worlds. They're already forming new connections. Trade routes, cultural exchanges, technological collaborations. It's beautiful." The main screen displayed a map of the galaxy, but not the rigid, ordered patterns of the concordat era. Now it showed an organic, ever-changing web of relationships and innovations. Each world was finding its own path while staying connected to others. "We need to make sure this doesn't become another empire," Thomas said thoughtfully. "No matter how well-intentioned." "Agreed," Walker replied. "That's why Earth will be just one voice among many. We'll share what we know, but each world, each species must find their own way." A year after the first concordat ship appeared above Earth, the galaxy was unrecognizable. The perfect controlled order was gone, replaced by something more chaotic, but infinitely more alive. In the newly established Galactic Council chamber, representatives from hundreds of worlds gathered. Unlike the rigid hierarchy of the concordat, here everyone had a voice. The chamber buzzed with different languages, different ideas, different ways of thinking. Thomas stood at the podium, looking out at the gathered species. "We're here to formally dissolve the last remnants of the concordat system," he announced. "But more importantly, we're here to embrace something new. A galaxy where perfection isn't the goal, where diversity isn't just accepted, but celebrated." Dr. Reed, sitting with other scientific leaders, added, "Our strength lies not in making everything the same, but in learning from our differences. Every species here has something unique to offer. Admiral Walker, now representing Earth's defense forces, concluded, "The stars once seemed to betray us, but they actually showed us our true strength. Humanity stood unshaken not because we were perfect, but because we never tried to be." The chamber erupted in cheers and various alien expressions of joy. The new Galactic Alliance was born, not built on control and perfection, but on freedom and endless possibility. As the celebration continued, Thomas looked out at the stars through the chamber's massive windows. They no longer seemed threatening but full of promise. The concordat had tried to make the galaxy perfect and unchanging. Instead, they had unknowingly set the stage for the greatest period of growth and innovation in galactic history. The future wasn't perfect, and that was exactly what made it beautiful.